Hi class, we're going to continue our work with adding rational expressions. Now we're going to have polynomial denominators instead of monomial denominators. I want to go back to a very elementary example again with our 7/12 plus 3/8. I think this would be beneficial for us as we go forward in this lesson. So what we talked about is how our least common multiple is 24 and 24. And so we talked about multiplying this by 2, multiply this by 2 to get 14, multiply this by 3, so multiply this by 3 to get 9. Now I want you to break this down for a second. Before we do all this, let's just first discuss how we got our least common multiple. If you look at the factors of this class, it is 2 times 2 times 3. That's the prime factorization they call it. And here is 2 times 2 times 2. Now I want you to see something for a second. Our least common multiple always works like this. This one has a 2 and this one has a 2. So because they both have it, you're just going to write it once. This one has a 2 and this one has a 2. So because they both have it, I'm only going to write it once. Now this one over here has a third 2. So that's going to be part of my least common multiple. I'm going to have another 2. Now this one over here has a 3. So I'm going to write that one right down here. So now what is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3? 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. And that's how we get 24. So it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. 24. Now, take a look at this. This one already had a 3 factor, right? So we don't need a 3 factor multiplied up here. It did not have a third 2. So we had to multiply the numerator by 2 because it didn't have this third 2 right here. In the same way, this had the 3 2's, 1, 2, 3 2's. However, it was missing the 3 from over on this side. So because you had to multiply the bottom right by 3, you have to multiply the top right by 3. And that's how we got this 9, and that's how we got this 14. So I think that's going to help us as we move forward. So let's take a look at this. The first thing we have to do always is we have to get the factors. So if you have to take out a GCF or if you have to factor, do that the very first thing. So this is left with 4 times the quantity, W minus 4. This is 2 times the quantity, W minus 4. So before you can subtract anything, you must get common denominators. So what are your factors here, class? You have a W minus 4 factor and a W minus 4 factor. So that is going to be part of our least common multiple, is the number W minus 4. So I'm going to write that under both of them. Now what is the least common multiple between 4 and 2? What number do they both go into? Well, they both go into the number 4. So I'm going to have 4 here and 4 here. And there's our least common multiple. There's our common denominator. 4 times the quantity, W minus 4. What did you change when you went from here to here? You didn't change anything at all, did you? So you're not going to change anything at all when you go from W plus 12 down to the next step. You're just going to be left with W minus 12. So what did you change when you went from here to here? Well, you changed from a 2 to a 4, which means you multiplied by 2. So that means you have to multiply this one by 2. So now we're going to have a negative 2 times the quantity, W plus 4. So now we're going to have our fraction having a common denominator of 4 times the quantity, W minus 4. And now we're simply going to add or subtract their numerators, which means W plus 12, W plus 12 minus 2 times the quantity, W plus 4. Make sure you remember that that negative sign comes with it. So now we're going to combine like terms, but first we have to distribute. We have this W plus 12 in the numerator. A negative 2 times W is a negative 2W. A negative 2 times a positive 4 is a negative 8. That is all over 4 times the quantity. Sorry, I forgot the parentheses there. 4 times the quantity, W minus 4. So now let's combine like terms in the numerator. Let's clean things up. 1W minus 2W is a negative W. 12 minus 8 is a positive 4. Divided by 4 times the quantity w minus 4. Now you might think you're done up to this point, but class, always remember that if you can take out a negative number to make your variable positive, such as this is a negative 1w, let's take out a negative 1. So now this is a positive w, and this is now a negative 4. That over 4 times the quantity w minus 4. Now we're back to yesterday's lesson and 2 days ago, where you have common factors that can reduce. So w minus 4 and w minus 4 reduce, so now you're just left with a negative 1/4. And there is our answer. So as you can see, we're continuing to simplify because a negative 1/4 is a lot simpler than this whole mess of garbage right here. Alright, let's try number 4. This isn't an easy concept, but with anything, the more practice you get at something, the better you get. Alright, let's get common denominators. First, let's factor everything that we can. Take out a GCF. 5 times the quantity x minus 5. 3 times the quantity x minus 5. So once again, they both have this x minus 5 term, so that's going to be part of your GCF, your least common multiple. That's going to be part of your common denominator. So x minus 5 and x minus 5. Now your other factors are 5 and 3. So what is the least common multiple between those two numbers? It would be the number 15. So your common denominator is 15 times the quantity x minus 5. So what did you have to multiply this by to get to here? You had to multiply by the number 3. So you have to multiply the top by 3. It's 3 times the quantity x minus 10. What did you have to multiply this denominator by to get to this denominator? You had to multiply by the number 5. So you have to multiply this one by the number 5. It's 5 times the quantity x minus 8. And make sure the subtraction sign comes with it. Alright, so now let's clean this up. I'm going to try to do 2 things in one step. I hope that's okay with everyone. Your common denominator is 15 times the quantity x minus 5. In the numerator, you're going to distribute 3 times x is 3x, and 3 times a negative 10 is a negative 30. A negative 5 times x is a negative 5x, and a negative 5 times a negative 8 is a positive 40. So then, cleaning up, you have a negative 2x in the numerator, because you have 3x minus 5x, which makes a negative 2x, and you have a positive 10 also in the numerator. That divided by 15 times the quantity x minus 5. Now always, class, factor as much as you possibly can to see if any other like factors reduce. So you can take out a negative 2 in the numerator, and then you're left with a positive x and a negative 10. Oh, sorry, negative 5. That divided by 15 times the quantity x minus 5. Whew! X minus 5s, x minus 5s, you're gone. So now all we have left is a negative 2 over 15. A negative 2/15 is our answer for problem number 4. Problem number 5. You see a trinomial. Whenever you see a trinomial, think of the word factor. More times than not, that's what you're going to end up doing. So you're going to have 2 different parentheses. Y minus 5 times y plus 2. Y plus 2 times y minus 1. Alright, this is going to make things significantly easier for you. Hopefully you recognize this right away. This y minus 5 and this y minus 5, they can reduce. So you can do that, and now you're just going to get a 1 up here. So that's going to make things a little bit easier for you. So let's rewrite this now as 1 over y plus 2. That's what we have for our left fraction. We're adding the fraction y divided by y plus 2 times y minus 1. So now, class, they both have a factor. Now, our goal here now is to get common denominators. This denominator and this denominator both have a y plus 2 term. So we're going to have y plus 2 as part of our least common multiple. Now this one has a y minus 1, and this one does not. So the one on the left needs a y minus 1. So your common denominator is also going to have a y minus 1 term in it. And we're adding these two, correct? Yes. Alright, so what did you have to multiply this by to get to here? We had to multiply by y minus 1. So this 1 has to be multiplied by y minus 1. What did this have to be multiplied by to get to here? Nothing. So we're not going to multiply this by anything either. You're just going to get y. So our correct answer on this one is when we have 1 times y is y, and 1 times negative 1 is a negative 1. We have 1y plus a y, giving us 2y. 2y minus 1 all over our common denominator of y plus 2 times y minus 1. And that's as far as we can go for problem number 5. Alright, problem number 6, the most difficult one of the day. You see trinomials, so hopefully you're getting in the habit of now factoring those trinomials whenever you see them. X minus 4 times x plus 3. X plus 3 times x plus 2. Alright, so now our next step is we have to get common denominators. So let's find our least common multiple. They both have an x plus 3 term. So I know that's going to be part of my common denominator. X plus 3, x plus 3. So now this one has an x minus 4, where this one does not. So I know I'm going to have an x minus 4 term and an x minus 4 term here. In the same way, this one has an x plus 2 term, where this one does not. So I need an x plus 2 term in both of them as well. So bottom line here, class, and this is something that you could use on a lot of problems, is that there are 1, 2, 3 different factors here. These two are the same, so there's 3 different ones. So what's going to be your common denominator? It's going to be these 3 factors multiplied by each other. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you can kind of use that strategy on a lot of these problems. So what did you have to multiply this by to get to here? The factor it didn't have was this x plus 2 factor. So you have to multiply this one by x plus 2. It's going to be x times the quantity, x plus 2. What did you have to multiply this denominator by to get down to here? Well, the one it didn't have was the x minus 4 term. So you have to multiply your negative 3 times the quantity, x minus 4. Once you do that, you can then combine like terms and then see if anything else reduces. So you have now a common denominator of x minus 4 times the quantity, x plus 3 times the quantity, x plus 2, with x squared in the numerator, a positive 2x in the numerator, a negative 3x, make sure you use the negative 3 and not the positive 3, and a negative 3 times a negative 4 is a positive 12. Alright, combine like terms. In the numerator, you have an x squared, 2x minus 3x is a negative x, and then you have a positive 12. That over x minus 4 times x plus 3 times x plus 2. Now class, one thing that I've been stressing over and over and over again the past few days is that whenever you see a trinomial, you got to see if it can be factored. So you got to try to factor this one when you get to it on a test. Try, and see if it can be factored. This one, however, cannot. You can try until you're blue in the face, but it will not be factored. So this is our answer. But I still want you to get in the habit of always doing that, because if it could be factored, and then you could cancel anything in the numerator and the denominator, that's going to be the thing that you have to do. So this lesson is not an easy lesson, but always think to yourself with adding and subtracting fractions, you need common denominators. So then it's the hard thing to get those common denominators. Be sure to ask me any questions if you have them. I'd like to guide you through any more if you need some more practice and stuff like that too. Just feel free to come up to my desk and let me know.